What's going on, Brunswick bowling fans? My name is Brandon. I am Brunswick Regional Staff out of Northeast Ohio, and today we're going to be taking a quick look at the all-new Prism Warp from Brunswick Bowling. Up on the screen, you've got some information on the new Warp, as well as some of my stats. So I've drilled this 80 by 5.5 by 90, which drills part of the dot out of my middle finger. If you'd like to see a picture of that, you can check out my Instagram. I'll post a link of that on the screen as well as in the description below. Let's go ahead and take a look at some shots, and we'll talk about the ball as we go along. The Prism Warp features the Portal core, which is the same core we've seen throughout the Prism line so far. What's interesting to me is the cover. So the Prism Warp is the third release within the Prism line, but is already the second solid covered bowling ball that we've had within the Prism line. Now, when you look at a 3-ball arsenal, or when you have a set of bowling balls that has 3 releases, typically those 3 releases are going to consist of a solid, a hybrid, and a pearl. And the hybrid's going to split the difference between the solid and the pearl. What Brunswick's done is they've given us a third release that kind of fills that hybrid slot. So obviously we already have the Prism Hybrid, we have the Prism Solid, which is really strong, really early, and then they released something that splits the difference between those two. So the Prism Warp is cleaner than the original Solid, not as clean as the Hybrid, more responsive down lane than the original Solid, while being rounder and a little bit slower than the Prism Hybrid is. So it's really interesting to me that they went that route. I do enjoy the bowling ball. I've had a lot of fun throwing it over the last week and a half. The Prism Warp, I'm going to compare it to the Hybrid here in a moment, just to show you those differences. Like I said, the Warp is definitely still early. It is definitely still a solid bowling ball. So you're going to see the differences between the Warp and the Hybrid here, to where the Hybrid just floats through the front part of the lane, gets to the spot, and really makes a quick, hard, decisive turn. The Hybrid is a little bit more forward off the spot than what the Warp is, at least in my opinion and in how I see the ball so far. It's not a bad thing, just a little bit of a shape difference there. The Hybrid definitely lets you open the lane up and is just a great bowling ball. We've seen it quite a bit on TV. It's had a lot of success here recently. Up on the screen, you've got what a typical 6-ball arsenal would be for myself, and the Prism Hybrid's going to slot right in the top there. It's going to be the strongest bowling ball that I would carry on a house shot. Typically, I don't need something that strong, but if I would carry one, and I have been carrying one, the Prism Warp is going to fill that slot beautifully. Here you're going to see something a little bit different. This is Sean. He is Brunswick Regional Staff out of California. Him and I have talked quite a bit since I signed on with Brunswick back in November, and then I had approached him actually last week about doing some of these reviews together for some of the new releases. So here you're going to see him bowling out of Pacific Avenue Bowl. He's throwing his Prism Warp, which is drilled 65 by 3 3/4 by 35. Some of his notes that he's provided me, he definitely sees the ball as being smooth overall. The Prism Warp loves oil, much like its big brother, the Prism Solid. But when it gets to that dry, you're going to see it pick up, react, and really drive through the pins. If you get it out too early, you may see it react a little bit quicker, kind of like this shot. Nice little big 4 there. The Prism Warp, though, and you're going to see some comparisons to the original Solid from him, the Prism Warp is still a little bit cleaner, like I said, a little bit more general use, especially for house shot compared to the original Solid. And here we have some of his comparisons. The Prism Solid, like I mentioned, just a really, really early rolling bowling ball. It loves to be in oil. You can see on that shot right there, it dug as quickly as it could and picked up and made its move. It's not as big of a move down lane, so you can see where the warp is definitely more responsive down lane compared to the original Prism Solid. Sean definitely wants to thank all of his sponsors: Brunswick, Vice Inserts, Logo Infusion. The pro shop that he works out of and drills all his stuff at is Bowling Outfitters Pro Shop. I also want to take the time to thank Brunswick and Ultimate Bowling Products. You guys have been great to me. I also want to thank Cutting Edge Pro Shop, Jim Vestpoint. You've been phenomenal. He's taken care of me my entire bowling career, has drilled pretty much every bowling ball I've ever had, and it's just been a great relationship to have. Ooh, look at that messenger. Nice little slap that 7-pin out. But anyways, Team Brunswick, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment if you haven't already. Keep an eye out for a review on the U-Motion from myself, as well as a review on the Redemption Solid and Redemption Pearl, which will once again feature Sean. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your night, or day, or morning. I don't know when you're watching this. Just have a good one.